Hello and welcome to the Matchbook Greyhound Racing Podcast. Of course, we are looking at all matters Star Sports and TRC English Greyhound Derby. As always, I'm joined by the maestro, Paul Lawrence, PL. We are now down to the final, well, I was going to say 96, but Dolores Ruth is after pulling out her two. So we're down to 94, although for circumstances beyond sort of Toaster's control, it's back to 95 because a reserve came in. I think they showed a bit of discretion. I think it was the right decision. Of course, we had one heat where a dog jumped into the infield. They had to stop the hare, and due to this ludicrous 4-day rule, they had to draw lots. One of those dogs that went through didn't. One of the dogs that didn't come through was left in as a reserve, and that is now going to come in. That is Bubbly Gizmo. I think it was a wise decision, and we'll get into the actual action itself, but fair play for them doing the right thing, I think, on this occasion.
Yeah, definitely. It must be heartbreaking when especially the first round, you get all excited, don't you, with your dog, and then you draw lots to see if you go through, and you can't even air your wares if you like. So, yeah, I think you're right, Ian. It was the right decision.
Yeah, it was the right decision. Let's talk about the opening round, PL. Firstly, there was some sensational displays. Another track record, this time Clona Duke, taking it off his kennel companion Swords Rex. And as a result, the two are top two in the betting market. They're just ahead of Ballymac Marino, who's so impressive. There you see Ballymac Finn next, Romeo Command, Romeo Magico, the defending champion, married champion. From a competition point of view, very disappointing to see From Post to Pillar crashing out. I don't think either of us felt he was the right favourite, but at the same time, we did feel that the opening two rounds he could have produced something very special, and it would have been great to see him in the latter stages taking on the best of the Irish. Just one of those things. Everything can drive it against him. He found trouble early, found trouble at the third bend, found trouble at the last bend, and in the end failed to qualify. Bit disappointing.
Yeah, it was very disappointing, wasn't it? It was one of those. I think you asked me at the outset, do you think he should be seeded wide? And I said no, I think he's middle. And it probably one of those things where Rab and Liz were probably betwixt and between of how to seed him. And I think it was probably that where they were a bit worried about his form at Toaster. Maybe he seemed to handle any kind of trap really when he was at Central Park, and he looked really good. So it was disappointing because I think he's a dog that's got gears, and he can even take a bump and get crowded and still clock a decent time. So it was disappointing for him to go out, and I'm sure that Brendan and Simon that were the same. So I was on him, and I thought he would be a dog that would progress because of his style of running. He was strong. It just, as you say, everything contrived against him.
Yeah, it's strange to think that Swords Rex, the dog who's coming over from Ireland, who was only sort of really confirmed a month or so before the Derby started, had more runs around Toaster in races than From Post to Pillar, who's based over here. But them's the breaks. That's the way it happened, and they decided to rather give him a race, give him trials. And in the end, I think a race would have been the key. He probably would have been changed of seating if he had been given a race, closer to the Derby, and things may have changed. Let's get into the dogs that are still in the competition. As you can see from the tracker on the bottom there, we have two clear favourites, very much representing the kennel of the moment, the kennel of the last decade, really, in Graham Holland's Riverside outfit. You see Swords Rex and Clona Duke both at around 7-1. That's where they're at in the fixed odds as well as on the exchange at the moment. That might creep up near the time on Saturday morning, but I think they're the right two there, PL. They both produced fine runs in the opening round, especially Clona Duke, who pinged out of the inside box, moved off probably to 2.5, maybe closer to 3. I think I would paint the white jacket on myself if I've given the option, and I think the inside seeding is probably still correct, given the fact that there are so few middle and wide seeds in it. But I don't know if he can do much better than that, but if he continues to run like that, he's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, he was a dog that you spotted in the juvenile, wasn't it, last year? And it kind of he's a dog that we thought he was better drawn sort of 3 or 4, but it's the same old story. When you put a middle on, you can end up with 5 and 6, and he doesn't want to be out there. So you can understand it. It's just the way that we had the seeding. I've got my theory on an ideal box scenario. I tried to get that in a couple of years ago. I've tried to talk to the GRI about it, and I think I've talked to Brian Jones about it, and he thinks it's a fantastic way of doing it. And I just think that if you ask Graham Holland what is Clona Duke's ideal box, he'd probably say 3 in, and I think you'd probably agree as well. So, the thing is with the dog, he he did smash out, and that helped him, didn't it? But he definitely moved off into as you say, probably lane 3.
Yeah, you do make a valid point. Like if something in 2 or 3 had popped out, he probably would have stayed to the inside.
Yeah, easily. So, and I think he's one of those dogs. He just seems to be growing of age now. He's a dog that obviously caught your eye last year, and again he pinged in the final, didn't he? On the Friday before the Derby final, and I just think he's one of those dogs that seems to be progressing really nicely. And as you mentioned, Graham knows now how to train a Derby winner. So he'll those dogs actually have peaked quite quickly. It's a bit scary to think, could they go any faster, Ian?
Yeah.
Because they're certainly
from an English point of view, the English trainers will be hoping that they've peaked. I'm not so sure, to be honest. Swords Rex, I thought, was a very solid opening round effort. He was probably 3 lengths slower than his kennel companion, or Clona Duke. He didn't take the ping that he took in his Derby trial stick when breaking the clock, but I thought it was a very straightforward success for him. I don't think he left an awful lot on the track in terms of, I don't think he overly stressed himself in victory. I thought it was pretty straightforward, and I thought of the two, I'd be certainly nearly happier with Swords Rex doing the run that he did rather than Clona Duke for the reasons you say. You don't want the dog doing track records in the opening round or second round. You'd sooner keep those runs for the latter stages, but all going well, the two of them should be in the latter stages of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think Swords Rex has probably got a little bit more experience than his kennel companion, Clona Duke. Swords Rex is my kind of dog, really, and he's got that little bit of early, and he's actually, as he's getting older, he's staying better as well. There's no, he's not a one-trick pony by any means. He can get himself out of bother, and I just think that he is the complete Derby dog, really. So yeah, he deserves to be at the top of the market. And Clona Duke, I just think, is a dog that is progressing and going forward. So it's quite scary that when he did the smash break, he actually did such a time as he did. So yeah, and he's got a big engine. And again, that he could probably come from off the pace as well. So they're two greyhounds that are worthy of being at the top of the market and well capable of winning an English Derby. That's for sure.
Just behind him is Ballymac Marino at 9. That's around 8-1. That's similar to where the fixed odds are at the moment, PL. I said it to a couple of people, like, just given his inexperience, the fact that he is a stronger runner. I know he pinged in the opening round. I think he should be sort of close to Ballymac. I would have sort of made him a 12-1 chance. That's where I feel he deserves to be. Just at this stage in his career, he is a juvenile classic winner. He's proven that he can go through a competition. And it's clear that Liam Dowling and all at the Ballymac operation think the world of him. I think he's exceptional greyhound, but I just thought he was plenty tight enough now at 8-1.
Yeah, you're probably right in that it was one of those where he did, again, he's another dog that broke well, but he did show exceptional pace. I was a bit worried, me being me. I was worried about him going from the middle seeded to rails. I don't think I'd have done that. I'd have kept him where he was, because although he did edge in to the middle from breaking from 5 in the opening round, I just thought that I wouldn't want to see him in track 1, because I just don't think you break as well from 1. He's not. You wouldn't say he was a natural track 1 specialist, and I said that about Clona Duke, and he proved me wrong. So you can't get it right every time. But it's just going forward. Like you mentioned, when you go in deeper and you go in with faster dogs, you want to have a straight line to the turn. And I can understand why Liam's done it in that he's drawn 3 in his second round heat, and he probably wants, that's probably an ideal box 3 or 4 would be perfect for him. But he's another dog similar to Clona, who probably even less experienced, but he's a dog that can carry on going forward, and he was mighty impressive. He won by about 9 lengths, didn't he? So yeah, it was a great effort. So.
Not a one-trick pony, it has to be said as well. He's not a dog that if he's like second or third into the back straight, you'd be too concerned about. Like, this fellow will be running right to the line. He has a victory over 575 yards at Shelbourne Park. Came from behind CryptoPunk to win in his first race at Shelbourne Park. That was a hell of an effort. It's clear from the early stages he's a very, very talented greyhound, no question about it. Just behind them is Ballymac Finn, his kennel companion, Irish Derby runner-up. The clock would suggest that he didn't perform that great in the opening round, but I I was pleasantly surprised by how well he ran, given the fact that he didn't get to the front and he was sort of forced to check his stride on a couple of occasions. Did fade out of it a little bit in the latter stages, but I think there's an awful lot to come from this fellow. We've seen how good he is in the past.
Yeah, I mean, his trials in Tralee I think they were slightly faster than Marino as well. So, I think you have to take into consideration as well that these dogs they've come over from Ireland. You know that they've not been there a long time. Maybe Finn hasn't settled in quite as well as Marino. A lot of Liam's dogs have run really well, and you'd say out of them, Finn was he was slightly disappointing, but there was always that chance in that he wasn't going to lead Sign It Goofy in his opening heat anyway, and I suppose there's that where if he doesn't lead, he's not going to be going hard to the line. He's one of those dogs that will just about get 500 meters. I think on the front he'll be quite capable, and he's quite capable of leading sort of Derby class dogs. So yeah, he was slightly disappointing. He's the other one that I have invested in, and again they were the two I was looking at from Liam's yard. Marino, and I didn't actually dabble on Marino, but as you say, he's probably gone a bit short now. But I still feel there's probably a little bit in Ballymacfin, and I'm sure, and I'm hoping actually that we'll see, that a slightly better effort in this second round.
He'll be severely tested. He's up against Clona Duke. That's one of the certainly the highlights of the second round. Just
Yeah.
behind them, next up is Romeo Command. He's the shortest price of the British runners remaining in the competition. He's a dog that spent the first spell of his career in Ireland. He had 11 starts in Ireland, winning one of them. He was trained by Graham Holland. I think they moved him because, with all due respect to, this isn't tongue in cheek. I mean it in the sense where I think he needed a confidence. I think he needed confidence. He wasn't getting the run in Ireland. He was taking on a different grade of greyhound in Ireland. And when he came to England, while he was taking on some good dogs, he wasn't taking on the same depth of quality that he was taking on in Ireland. And all of a sudden, he just took off. He got it loose a couple of nights, and I think he won 10 in a row when he first came to the UK. And I think we saw a very different greyhound than the dog we saw in Ireland, shall we say, in the opening round. He had every chance to get beaten in the opening round. Showed great pace down the back straight, really strong. There's just an awful lot to like about this greyhound.
Yeah, and again, he's probably more of a competition jogging. Obviously, he's been placed well when he's been over here to win the 10 races, and then I think that it was an easy enough task for him class wise in the opening round, and he did it sort of maybe more workmanlike than flashy. You know that if he gets to the front, he's going to do a clock. But he's one of those dogs. I think you probably need him to keep starting and get prominent in races, because I don't think he's going to come from a mile behind classy dogs, Ian. So, and I'll just worry about his early pace, if you like, to win a derby. That'd be my opinion on him.
Not too dissimilar to From Post to Pillar in a sense, but probably has a fraction more early speed and is an inside seed, so
Yeah.
is more likely to get a clearer passage. Just behind him is the defending champion Romeo Magico. Charged traps in the opening round, didn't really get going for the first 50 yards, but then switched around the outside. Moved second, showed all the back straight pace, and ran well to even hold Wolf Moon, who ran a blinder in defeat. But I think it was a pleasing start by the defending champion. But the question still is there about whether he has the same early speed that he had last year.
Yeah, you're probably right. I always thought that Romeo Magico's biggest weapon was his 2 to 3 anyway, and he certainly showed that in his opening round. He just he looked almost like he was idling on the running, and I think Graham's been on record of saying that he's probably that little bit older, as you say, so he's minded him a bit more, so he's prepared him for this competition rather than a la Swords Rex and Clona Duke to be doing it, in those sort of flashy runs early doors. I think he knows that he's got a greyhound that's capable of winning an English derby in Romeo Magico, and I think he's just prepared him from it. So I got the impression that he was just that little bit short, maybe of fitness, Ian. But the old sparkle down the back straight was there. As I say, I just thought he idled on the running somewhat. I think that probably. I think he's got a massive chance actually in the second round. I think he'd go very, very close in his second round heat.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah, funny you say that. Graham is sort of on record as saying Swords Rex is one of those dogs that thrives on racing. He wants racing, 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 and he's given him a fairly hefty campaign this year already. And he seems to be flying for Clona Duke as a dog who probably needed racing to find how to space himself out in terms of competition. And he seems to be getting there, although he, he flew last week. But I agree with you, Romeo Magico. While he is the elder statesman of the Holland runners, he's definitely a dog that could keep improving through the competition, which is sort of almost contrary to what you'd normally think. But yeah, the proof is there. He's very, very fast dog still. And of course, he is the defending champion. So, in essence, the one to beat. And the last two dogs on the ticker there, Married Champion. And what was the last one? I will get to Married Champion first. I think he's plenty short enough now. Myself, PL, he was handed a 3-dog race in the opening round and ran well to win, did everything right. But I think the doubts are still to the opening corner. I'm not sure he is the same early speed to match those that are ahead of him in the market.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see him that short. I must admit, he's a nice, handy dog. Don't get me wrong, and he probably is taking to Toaster, which again is important. And I think that he is going forward. I think he's got a fair deal of early. And again, as you say, he ended up with a 3-dog heat in the first round, and he's actually ended up he'll be odds on with track one. And I noticed actually from 3 he did move in. I went back and checked that, and I think he'll be all right in the red, because I think even if he's not one of those that always breaks the bars down anyway. It's natural early that takes him to the front, and I think he's got a fair deal of early in. So maybe I've got a slightly different opinion to you, but I understand where you're coming from. But I just think again he's got a massive chance to progress. So maybe that's why he is as short as he is, because of his second round heat, and they think he'll qualify and he'll be in the draw for the third round. So.
Yeah, of all those in the ticker, he probably has the softest of the second round assignments, and he's got a perfect draw in it as well. And it's going to need you're going to need a bomb to keep him out of the third round draw, shall we say? Just
Yeah.
looking beyond those, just give a couple of mentions. Gaytime Nemo is the last on the ticker, of course, a really strong runner. I know Graham likes him a lot. I thought he was very impressive in his opening round victory. I went for Boyle Sports Gift in the same race against him last week because I thought Boyle Sports get the first run on him. He showed plenty of early speed. Gaytime Nemo, he's very strong. 500 meters, he'd do that in the morning, no problem. Like, it wouldn't take a breath out of him. Nice dog, and I know Graham likes him an awful lot. He's lightly raced this year, so don't be surprised if he does improve. For just behind them, I'm surprised Romeo Hanzo isn't shorter than 26. I thought very, very impressive in the opening round. Another one that Graham, he goes out of his way to speak about Hanzo. Like, you'd be asking about other dogs, and he'd say, yeah, and we have Hanzo. And I know that there was chunky bets in him in one or two of his early races at Shelburne, and that would suggest that they've taught an awful lot of him from the early stages. Just behind him, you have the likes of Brookside Ritchie, who has been just a revelation the last 6 months. He's really flown, and like, despite his age, he just seem to be getting better and better in himself. Why Man, who ran very well, Ballymac John, Dealish Frankie, Undulation. Any of those catch the eye?
Yeah, the one I wanted to talk about was Romeo Hanzo. I actually just looked at his form again just before we came in, and I saw the 28.07 from Limerick, because I didn't really know a lot about him, Ian, if the truth be known. But I was really taken with his performance in the first round, and I think, I was surprised actually, because I think, so is he about 26? If he's 26, then I think that's too big.
Yeah, he's around. You can get 26. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be taking that. I would have thought, but I think he's got a massive chance in Heat 6 as well in the second round. So again, it was just a taking performance. There were a lot of good performances. Don't get me wrong, but he just caught my eye as a pacey dog that again is a young dog, and he's about the right age for a Derby winner, isn't he? Where he's sort of in his second season now. So I think out of those greyhounds that we've spoken about, I think, although we've spoken about Graham, so he's got there's such a powerful team that I think value-wise as a punter, I would be Romeo Hanzo.
Yeah, no, it's like I tend to agree with you. Like, he's obviously open to so much more improvement than many of them. He's a dog who hasn't had a lot of racing. He's enough racing to be experienced and whatnot, but I still think we probably haven't seen the very best of him. Won by 7 lengths in the opening round at 28.94, and looked like he was doing it with minimum enough fuss. And when it looks easy to a dog, you sort of have to pay attention. Let's move on from the outright market and let's skim through the heats PL. Obviously, there's 8 heats on Friday, 8 heats on Saturday. Anything that stands out, like the opening heat, we have YI Man a 6-4 favourite. Sign it Goofy, as I say. Any of them that jump out at you? I know enough about YI Man to certainly not get sucked in at any prices less than 2-1.
Yeah, no, I actually make Sign It Goofy favourite there because I think he'll lead, and I think once he leads, then all of a sudden, that they might just struggle, those sort of dogs in behind. So I think Sign It Goofy will lead all the way. That's me.
Lataro will be likely odds on in the second heat, especially with Mustang Jet having been pulled out from Dolores Route. He was one of my anti-post each way selections and bets. So I'm sad to see him out. But if the dog's not right to run, he's not right to run. Right decisions made. Lataro odds on. Those are two terms for me that just don't work. I will be taking him on. I took him on in the opening round. I was delighted to see Ballymac Joey getting back to winning ways for the first time since last September. I just think he's a dog that you can take on. I think he's a horribly fast greyhound, but he's a grinder. He's not a flyer to the corner. He doesn't fly down the back and he doesn't fly home. He just does everything well, and I think he's susceptible to a dog that can do one of the three very well.
Yeah, I mean, he broke the track record, didn't he, last year in one of the early rounds, and he just, I'm not saying he struggled, but he struggled to recapture that form, if you like, because I think he's one of those dogs, Ian, that he relies on a start. He's obviously a very, very quick dog. His preparation has been pretty decent, but yeah, again, he was more workmanlike, wasn't he? He didn't bang the boxes. He was there with them, but he didn't really show a massive change of gears. So he's probably one of those greyhounds that when you give him a chance to lead a race, which you'd say he's got a big chance to lead this race. Infield Billy's more of a staying type. I spoke to the collection actually. They were at Lifford just last weekend. Romeo Top Gun maybe likewise. So in that race, I was prepared to take him on because I thought that Mustang Jet had lead and that would be job done. I thought I did, but the race now changes because I don't think there's a massive amount of early speed. Not that. So
no,
I understand.
He should win. I probably won't take him on, but if you're an odds-on punter, I think I'd leave him alone.
Yeah, he's one of those races where I don't really want to bet him short. I actually fancied him in the first round at around about 2-1. He went off 11-10, and I thought he was average to say the least. So yeah, jury's out with him. You know he's a quick dog, but whether he's the same dog as last year and capable of breaking the track record, I don't know. But surely Patrick knows again how to train a Derby winner. So I've got no strong opinion now. I was very strong on Mustang Jet. Now I've got no great opinion.
Yeah, you and me both. We both spoke about Mirari Champion. I think we both expect that to win Heat 3. On to Heat 4. I'm surprised to see Ballymac Bronze is either disputing favourite or favourite for this heat. Romeo Command would still be my idea of the winner because I think he can trap a lot better than he did, obviously, in his opening round assignment. Ballymac Bronze, I think, is, I think he's a travelling companion for many of the Liam Downing trained runners. He's not a dog that has many wins in Ireland. I'd be surprised if Romeo Command, if he produced his best, I'd be surprised if he didn't win this heat.
Yeah, well, I actually think that Ballymac Bronze is a negative for Romeo Command. I think they could cuddle on the inside.
A little bit.
Yeah. I just think he'll be there. I just think he'll be in the way of Romeo Command. I actually think that Havana All Ablaze can lead that race. And I know you're probably going to say, well, he's a little bit vulnerable. But as I say, I can just see them sort of just holding each other up on the inside, the three of them. And I think the four's perfect for Havana All Ablaze to just blast out and make a pretty decent price as well. So that was my play there.
Do you know what? I see that. I see that angle. She could definitely get to the front. Like while Romeo Command and Ballymac Bronze are very strong, I'm not sure they're quite as strong as Savannah Bow, who only picked up Havana All Blaze on the very final stride last week. Yep, that could be a value angle. She's around the 5-6 to 1 mark, is she? 8 to 1 can be gotten places. The next
Yeah.
tease, I fancy Crypto Punk. There's nothing in 3 now. Fabulous Azura will no doubt improve on her opening round effort. She'll need to. Crypto Punk is on the right side of her. Nominated as my bet of the week last week. Duly obliged. And obviously 4-7 wasn't going to make anybody rich, PL, but there was better prices available during
Yeah,
the
it was.
week.
Yeah.
Ballymac John Joe, I'm going to hope progresses. I'd like to see him sort of turn a little bit closer to the pace. Listen, he's never going to turn in front, but he's a monster when he gets loose. And I still think he'd be very hard to keep out of the frame. If Fabulous Azura doesn't lead, and she has the likes of Hurry Up Jordan and Ballymac John Joe on her tail off the second bend, she just want to be on her game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was CryptoPunk there as well. I was the same as you. I think I backed him at 11-10, and I just thought he was a perfect makeup for him. And I think likewise here, I think he was 7-4 in places. So I think it's the class act in that lineup. I think we're yet to see Fabulous Azura go forward, but she's been in season, so you can imagine that she could step forward, and she is sort of Oaks class, but I think CryptoPunk is also Derby class. He's quite capable of getting to a Derby semi-final stroke final. So, he'd be the bet there for me, CryptoPunk. I was quite surprised to see him as big as 7-4. So.
Yeah. Moving on to Heat 6, where Romeo Hanzo will be favoured. He kept on his toes, I'd imagine. Ballymac Walt ran okay in the opening round.
He did.
I think he's capable of better. Supernova came from out of the clouds to deny me. I was on Ben's lad at decent enough prices. I was shocked and appalled when he got up. He's 10-1. I think that's a perfectly fair price if you're fancying Supernova. He'll want to be a little bit sharper early because you're not picking up a Romeo Hanzo or Ballymac Walt to get loose in you. Droopy's Google ran so well in the opening round. Brinkley's Magic is capable of a big run. Even on Conquistador, it can run well. Hanzo just want to be doing things right. The 7-4 at present, he may well start short on that, but he still want to be doing things right.
Yeah, he was 2-1 yesterday, and I see he was near. But I've not played, but I thought he was a bet at 2-1. I actually thought Supernova. Agree with you. I think he's a big price at 10s. You could even frame him up, play him, bet him, and have forecast back to beat him. And you're right, La Conquistador has got gears. Brinkley's Magic, I thought, had a massive chance. He didn't quite break as well as I want him to do, but he was nearly there. I think he finished third. He was beating the head, but Droopy's Google was reasonably impressive. But I think this is a world of different sort of class of company that Droopy's Google's in now. I just thought Romeo Hanzo, again, from track 4, ran from 4 last time and came away nicely. Just a sensible break, and I'm sure that he'll 9 get to the front going into the first turn. So, yeah, Romeo Hanzo, but I was the same as you, mindful that Supernova was a bit overpriced at 10s.
Yeah. On to Heat 7, Romeo Magico and Undulation are the big two in the betting. Undulation is actually marginal favours. I wouldn't put you off either of them. Just thought Ninja Kerry was a little bit big, perhaps at 7. Wolf Moon ran such a big race as the rank outside around 28 PL. But is it a case of Undulation? If she pings out, she'll need to ping out again. She should come on for it. She's only about 15, 16 weeks at this stage. Romeo Magico can break much better. If he does trap and leads the likes of Savannah Topcat in the early yards, you could see him staying tight to the fence. And Undulation does tend to wander around those opening 2 bends. Romeo Magico could easily be in a lovely position off the second bend to strike.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I'm actually not. I wouldn't be surprised to see Savannah Topcat lead here. He's got a really good makeup to zoom up on the rails, and as you say, Undulation, whilst she was impressive from a very fast start, she was a bit wobbly around the first 2 turns. Now you can say, all right, she might improve for another look, but she might also hit that sort of flat spot coming out of season before then she goes on to so I'm going to take her on here. I'm going to be with Savannah Topcat to lead off, and I'll be pretty convinced that Romeo Magico could fly down the back and then pick that one up. So I think Savannah Topcat's massively overpriced at 8-1, so I'll be winning with that dog, and Romeo Magico's about 2-1. So yeah, I'm taking on Undulation there.
So a little bit of a Dutch there, taking on undulation. Onto Heat 8. My own personal fancy, I just thought he had a lovely draw again. Boyle Sports Gift didn't get the start in the opening round. This dog can really hammer to a corner. He's got a 403 in a trial there. I think he'd prefer to be in the middle to start, but I just thought he was overpriced, and it's purely price based. I thought Dealish Frankie ran very well to win in his opening round. He found himself in a lovely position off the opening corner. Arcady, I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced by Arcady at the moment. He just doesn't seem to be quite in the same form that he was in. I think he'll need to do everything right from the draw. Drive on lad, very strong last week. He'll want to be going up, but considerably better. We know he can do, but he was an eye catcher, and at the same time, he was so disappointing to the opening corner. But just from the draw, Boyle Sports Gift for me at 4-1. I thought he was big value.
Totally agree. Yeah, that was me as well. Ball Sports Gift, nice pitch on the inside. Dealish Frankie's going to have to do everything right to get to the front here. He's capable, don't get me wrong, and he can go forward. But I just think that Ball Sports Gift has got a bit of quality, got an ideal draw up on the inside. And I actually thought I would save an Arcady just on the wallop factor, because even when he won the juvenile, he smashed out trap six. So you're right. He was a bit disappointing maybe last time off a decent break, but I can't get that race earlier in the year out of my head. So I'd have to. I think you're right. The biggest value 4-1. Mark Ball Sports Gift, but I would just get my money back probably with Arcady. So
Yeah, we've always said, you and me both, you can't judge a greyhound on one run, and like that, you can ignore one run. It's if it does again, then you sort of consider it.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Too quick of me. I learned from the master. That's I should always listen to fellas with grayer hair than me. On to Heat 9. The first on Saturday. We'll race through these heats. There are a couple of more straightforward assignments. This opening heat, though, of Saturday night is pretty intriguing for my liking. Gaytime Nemo as well, housing the fence. Certainly, if he traps, Who Needs Wings ran okay, but will be a big price. Fate Point Susie was one of the ones that caught me out a little bit in the opening round. She ran very well to win in 29-13. But Brookside Ritchie is probably the key to the race. If he clears them, he wins. If he doesn't clear the top, he's going to have a race in his hands.
Yeah, I'm going to take him on again. I'm playing Gaytime Nemo and Fate Point Susie. Gaytime Nemo, as you say, was quite impressive, but he beat Ball Sports Gift. Whether he's going to get the same break, I don't know. But I think you can't boot him out the frame. He'll be there at the business end. But again, Graham's got his team in great form, so he's got a nice makeup. But I really, really like Fate Point Susie. I think she's nice. I actually tipped her up to beat Fabulous Azura in the opening round, and because I thought in the trial stakes she was really impressive. And I note that Hobbsy was he went to John's kennels. I've got a lot of time for John, by the way. He's reared my pups in the past. Really like the man, and I know he's desperate to win a derby, and he tries his level best. Disappointed when Sign Goofy didn't get to the final for him last year, but I actually think this bitch is top quality. Fay Point Susie, I think John said she just didn't quite settle. He's just getting to know her, and I think again that's important. We mentioned about Liam and Ballymacfin and dogs like that. You get a vibe, and I just think this bitch is going nicely. And I think Brookside Ritchie has got to do everything right to clear her. And if he doesn't lead,
she does a 401 last week. She does a 401 last week. It's not going to be easy to get around her. There's no question about that. Lots to like about her. She's obviously still owned by Patricia Flanagan, the Fate Point woman in Ireland. Noel and Patricia Flanagan. They have loads of greyhounds. It's great to see them with a really talented one in the Derby. Moving on to Heat 10, is it a case of Swords Rex clears them early and goes on to score? Beepers Lariat can certainly go faster than he did in his last two starts around Toaster, but he's going to need to find his trapping boots, because Swords Rex from 4, 3 is probably his ideal draw, but I don't think 4 is an issue for him. If he hits the lids, he just wins here in fine style, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he looks. He should be favourite. The only value I could get out of the race was I saw 6-1 Beepers Lariat, and I have to say when he was in one in the trial stakes and he missed it and he rushed up, I thought, cool, you've got some. And when I saw him in the first round out of 3, Ian, I thought you're bound to break better, go to the front and and
And there
putting
were
a
nibbles.
big
There were nibbles for him in those famous sectional markets. Like a few people are thinking the same.
yeah, and he actually and I I actually thought he could lead that race, and from post to pillar would pick him up. Obviously, it didn't go that way, and Beeper's Lariat really battled, and that tells you a lot about a Greyhound, doesn't it? Where
Yeah,
you think he's an early pacer, and therefore you think, oh, he might not have that much stamina. He's actually battled in a quality heat and come from off the pace to win it. So it will be scary if he does what we thought he could do from trap 3 in the first round. So if he does come out, I think he might actually give Swords Rex a race. I just thought that the prices were slightly wrong for him. I think Swords Rex should be favourite, and obviously, he broke the track record. We know he won the Kirby. We know his quality, but Beeper's Lariat is a dog that's just caught the eye as don't dismiss him by any means.
yeah, nearly a full year younger. He's improving rapidly. Yeah, I think he's a very fast greyhound that happens to have plenty of early speed and a potent combination. Moving on to Heat 11, we are going to have to speed up a little bit. Ballyhimmock and Leo races from Trap 4. I thought he ran okay opening round, but I was expecting a bit more. I tipped him up to win, and he sort of found himself pushed a little bit wide around the opening two bends. And by the time he finally got loose, the winner had flown. He's going to need to trap a little bit better than that. I liked Untold Zloty, I must say. I think he's going the right way. I'm very surprised that Magical Kyle is disputing favoritism. I wasn't impressed with him at all in the opening round. I thought it was very scratchy. I thought he made hard work of it, and I'd much prefer his brother in Trap 6, Untold Zloty.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the first dog you mentioned, Ballyhimmock and Leo. I think is totally wrong at 6-1. I think it's enormous. That'd be my play here. They both ran against Israel. He was in 5 and Slick King was in 4.
That's him being priced. That's on the 1-1.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But all I'm saying is you can only go with what you see, Ian. So I just think that it was a taking run. I think he can go faster. Things didn't go quite the way for him. They didn't go the way for Slick Sakina, but I thought he showed real nice 2 to 3. He's not completely devoid of early pace. I want to take on Magical Carl and Untold Zloty with 4 and 5 because I know Slick Sakina is going to go forward. I know she will. She might have just needed that run to blow away the cobwebs. But yeah, I think 4 Ballyhimmock and Leo at 6-1 is totally wrong, and Slick Sakina at 4-1 is totally wrong. And I'd add them more joint favourites in front of both Magical Carl and Untold Zloty. That's what I think of the race.
That's a market that, like, especially on a likes of Matchbook Betting Exchange, 2 minutes before the race, could look 100% different to how it looks right now, and it will be as intriguing in the betting ring as it will be on the track itself. And as you said, any of those 4 can win, but the 2 that you favour most are probably the wrong price in the sense where they should be shorter. I tend to agree with you. I've seen Ballyhimmock and Leo in his pomp, and I think he's a hell of a fast greyhound. I'd love to see him hit the lids, but he's going to need to, because if Slick Sakina hits the lids, like she did a 420 odd last week, she did a 407 in her trial. She's 16, 17 weeks now. She should be absolutely ready to go bingo. And I know the connections are really fancier to go deep into this year's competition. So it'd be interesting to see how she comes away. The next heat, it's just, for my mind, it's pretty much a match between Clonagh and Ballymac Finn. Mustang Sam is likely to go up well. I think the remainder need plenty of luck. Savannah Titan did nothing wrong in defeating the opening round, but it's flanked by Ballymac Finn and Clonagh. That's not where you want to be.
No, and you're right. We're just waiting for the real Ballymac Finn to turn up, and I'm sure he can give Clonagh a race. Whether Clonagh can break as quick as he did on a consistent basis like he did last time, we're still open to that. We know that Ballymac Finn can break better than he did certainly in his first round heat. So yeah, that is a good matchup. I'll just mention one other dog there, U2. He showed flashes of ability. So I wrote down on my notes, pacey. He's a real pacey dog, and again, quite young, quite inexperienced, and I think there's more to come from him. It's not quite the heat and the draw actually to take a chance on him, but I'd really like him to.
What I want to ask you is, PL, at 50-1, right? If he wins, will it be with or without you?
It'll definitely be with me. Yeah. You too, got it.
Show some pride. Show some pride.
I've got it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm with Clonagh because I think he's two chances of winning. He doesn't have to lead. Like Ballymacfin is still probably vulnerable from the third bend, and Clonagh has been so strong in recent times from the third bend home. So Ballymacfin has to lead, whereas Clonagh doesn't necessarily have to lead. That's why
Yeah.
I'd have slight preference for him. Whether it be interested at 1-2, I'm not so sure. More of a 4-6 and 9-4 than a 1-2, 11-4. That's the way I'd see it. But I've seen more of Ballymacfin than most. Moving on to Heat 13. I had to actually, I took a double take here when I saw McNeil 5-4. He's a greyhound that I would never back at less than 6-1. Like McNeil could easily be last into the back straight here, and he's 5-4 to win around Toaster.
If he's
I
last
don't know.
down the back straight, he ain't back running
That
Ballyhimmick
a
in Mill.
is that a misprint?
Yeah, no, I must admit, I had Ballyhimmick in Mel favourite. I think she's ideally drawn in 4. McNeil, he's still got to do things right. And there's no doubt Mystical Mario will lead. So on the inside, so I don't think McNeil's leading the inside. So he's got to find a way through. Whereas I think Ballyhimmick and Mel will just probably break reasonably well, turning the pitch, and that should be good enough. So yeah, I agree with you there. I thought the prices were a little bit wrong there.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. He's a massively fast
Yeah,
greyhound, but it's all from the second bend home. I actually thought Whiting's New Era at 14-1 was a bit of an insult. She's beaten 3 and 3 parts by Swords Rex last time, doing 29-14. She's been flying around Romford of late. I just think she's a nice type. Obviously, Mystical Mario is an issue for her. Ballyhimmick and Mel very strong last week, 28-95. I just thought at 14-1, Whiting's New Era was a bit big, and even Hope's Woof Woof has a life at around 6-1. Like I genuinely think that McNeil is taking up probably 30% more of the market than he should be.
yeah,
I put him in at 9-2, 5-1, and I'm Mr. Green tinted glasses here,
yeah.
and I have him backed at 66-1 each way, just a little bit of sneaky each way money, just to see if we can get in for the place money. But at 5-4, I wouldn't have him on my mind. Heat 14, Jack Tavern, Bella, Sonia, and Grande represent Ireland. You have Savannah Bow, Goldie's Perryman, the wonderfully consistent Goldie's Perryman, Ben's lad who broke my heart in the opening round, and famous 8 to be doing his best work late in Trap 6. Interesting contest this. Not a race where I'd like to be. Jack Bella was 7-2. She's now 5-2. I don't like the idea of her in this contest where there's 2 or 3 really strong runners. If she doesn't lead them, she's gonna have to try and pick them up. Like, you're not picking up Savannah Bow. You're going to struggle to pick up Goldie's Perryman. Sonia Grande's pretty strong, and famous 8. Well, he won't be in front, but if he was, forget about it. It's a dodgy race. I think it's more of a look on brief for me.
Yeah, well, I was a bit opposite there because I'm strong on Savannah Bow here, and I thought 5-1 again was completely wrong. I thought he ran a decent enough race. You look at the preparation for him. Diane's just giving him solo. He just bided his time, thundered through late, and he's just one of those dogs that we spoke about Romeo Magico. He's got to a Derby final. He's that sort of strong running type that sits on the rails and just keeps qualifying. I can see. I'm actually hoping that Ben's lad runs a good race here, because Goldie's Perryman will get to it, and they'll just cut each other's throats. 2 and 4 will just get involved in a speed battle, and then Savannah Bow comes sweeping through.
It could set it up for the likes of Savannah Bow or Jack Tavern Bella.
Or Jack Tavern Bella, yeah.
I put it to you that there's a chance Savannah Bow will turn closer in this race than he's ever done. Like in a sense where it'd be no surprise to me if he found himself in front off the second bend. And if that's the case, forget about it.
Yeah, well, even if I don't, if he let out the second turn, he's wading at Wincanton, but I don't think he will be. I just think he'll come sweeping through late. I just think, as I say, the way the way I think the race is going to go is that 2 and 4 will dispute. He'll turn in a handy posse because, as I say, I think he's fresh now. I think he'll continue to go forward. And I think 5-1's wrong. I think it's quite a straightforward bet, really.
Let's race through the last 2 heats here. Heat 15, Ballymac Joey and Savannah Hero for Ireland. Dean Rajanton, Cochise, Steve Knowles and Havana Bailout. It's not a race I'll be getting heavily involved in. Ballymac Joey is 11-4 favourite at present. As I said, that was his first run since last September. It's amazing what an ease and grade does, and it's strange to say like an ease and grade in the opening round of an English Derby, but when you consider the dogs he's been taking on in Ireland, it was an easier task perhaps than he's been facing, in a sense where there wasn't massive early speed, and Lataro didn't get the flyer, and this fellow got first run on them, and he is very fast, as you can see. He's son of Ballymac Bulger, Ballymac Minta. Ballymac Minta was an absolute airplane. He is the favourite. Havana Bailout is one that I could never consider backing, and she wins her fair share. Cochise, I was surprised to see him leading around. Steve Knows, I actually backed Stevie Knows in the opening round. I thought he was the one to beat in the contest. Couldn't quite get to Goldie's Perryman. Savannah Hero, I thought ran a big race in defeat also. It's not getting involved.
Yeah, I question mark this race, Ian. I didn't know whether to bet Ballymac Joey at 11-4 with his draw. I was quite impressed with Cochise, and I kind of think you could get falling into the trap that a staying dog has smashed the bars down. But again, he's got the ping box, hasn't he, in 3. I just like the way he did it, and you know that the dog can come from off the pace as well. So I didn't know whether just to have a little small nibble, Cochise each way at around about 9-2, or whether to just play the pair of them 1 and 3. It was a question mark race for me, and I wouldn't be getting too heavily involved.
Yeah. On to the last of the 16 heats. You have Ballymac Marino racing from Trap 3, the Juvenile Classic winner in Ireland. So impressive in the opening round in 28.76, just 3 spots off the record at that point, taking on his ex-kennel companions Ballymac John and Savannah Bailey. And then you have 4 chasing Tommy T, who's by Ballymac Best, and Trap 6 Forest Icon by Ballymac Best. Liam Dowling has plenty of interest in it, but he will be no doubt shouting for Ballymac Marino, who, off a good start, should probably win. Probably too much pace, but getting around Ballymac John is going to be no easy task. I really like him. I think he's a really nice dog. While he's short, real top class Derby form, I can see him just making life difficult for Ballymac Bailey or Ballymac Marino.
Yeah, I thought he was just so impressive, Ballymac Marino. I can't be against him. I get what you're saying with Ballymac John, but I just think he's quality. And as you said earlier on, he's not a one-trick pony, Ballymac Marino. I think he'll win there. And out of the short ones, I think he is the most straightforward at 1-2. I know Liam's took the wide off him because he probably wants to get 3 or 4, if you like, or he'll get away with 2 maybe. I'd hate to see him in 1, but in this race, this makeup, I'd say if you wanted to bet, a Clona Duke, a Swords Rex, or a Ballymac Marino, I'd say Ballymac Marino every day of the week.
We've got to that stage in the evening. PL, your best bet last week. Well, like in fairness, it wasn't your fault. It completely fell out of traps. Got no run whatsoever in the early stages. Forget about it. Like, you were done after 1 stride. Mine did come in. I might have mentioned that already. Crypto Pug. But what was your anti-post selection of from Post to Pillar? Yeah, he didn't go too well either for you. PL, you have a bit of ground to make up here. What's the best bet? I'll give you. Do you know what? I'll give you 2. You can have one at a shorter price and one at a bigger price.
Right, the shorter price one, then I'm Romeo Hanzo. And the bigger price one, I'm going to go Savannah Bow.
Okay, Romeo Hanzo and Savannah Bow. I'm going to go for my bigger price one, Boyle Sports Gift in Heat 8, just from the ideal draw on the inside, around the 4-1 mark. You never know, might get bigger on the exchange nearer to the time. Of the shorter price ones, I'm tempted to go with Hanzo as well, actually, but I won't. I'll move elsewhere, and I will take a chance with. I'm actually surprised you didn't go for Sign a Goofy in the opening heat. You know that? I thought I like what you're saying. I'm willing to take on YI Man. He's not a dog that won 2 in a row too often in Shelburne Park, I can tell you that. But he did run very well in the opening round. From a lay perspective, I'd be laying the 5-4 McNeil all day long. But of the shorter price ones, maybe I will side with. There's no point in just going against you for the sake of it. I'll go with Hanzo as well. I think that 7-4 at present. I think he'd be closer to 5-4 in the night.
That's what I should have done last week then, because I fancy Crypto Punk as well, and because you picked him, I sided with.
I got in first,
Joey, but there you go. It's all about what you do with the bets, and we're trying to advise people what we think. I think we're trying to go with a fair bit of value this week, and again, Ian, we have matched up with a few of the value plays, so that's interesting, and I better get Mrs. PL with the trainers on and get her in the shops, I think.
Yeah, get the trainers on. You get a trainer. You want to get her one of those little electric scooters. She'll be able to fly around the place. PL, you think a fellow with your hair color now have more experience in terms of going against one just because I tipped it. Let's move on and let's say goodbye. We have a great weekend's racing to look forward to. Again, the very best of luck to all with runners left in the Derby. PL, there's still an awful lot to come in this Derby.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and I think it's kind of the moving weekend really. There's still that little bit of value, and I'll probably sit down and maybe I'll have a couple of additional anti-post bets. I'll definitely be taking some of the 26 Romeo Hands-on Matchbook, put it that way, and yeah, it'll be great. And as you say, probably nearer the time, closer to the markets, you'll get those where they become bets and where they become lays, and that's the beauty of the exchange with Matchbook.
We'll take a renewed look at the outright betting market next week. I'll let you have another one you can add to your portfolio. A term we don't like to use. Anyway,
Keyword.
Yeah, we can add you can add a bet to your amount of bets you have. Anyway, that's it from us on this Thursday morning. The very best of luck again to each and everybody who has a runner or a selection still left in the Star Sports TRC English Greyhound Derby. Still an awful lot of water to go under that bridge. But that's it from us this week. We'll be back next week with another look at what will be a wonderful third round in the Derby. That's it from us this morning. Good luck. We'll see you next time.